OTP presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. Farm Bureau is for those who make plans for everything except themselves. We make it easy and affordable for Tennesseans who do not have a group or employer plan. Visit fbhp.com to learn more. I'm Amy Wells, joined by Titans senior editor Jim Wyatt. Free agency is upon us, Jim. How are you feeling, man? It's been a wild week.
It has been a busy week. I think doing the quick math was at 9 new arrivals.
Mm-hmm.
And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 re-signings of our own guys.
Yeah.
1 trade.
Yeah.
1 guy released.
Yep.
And then 3 others have joined other teams in addition to the 2 that were released. So
yeah, I mean, it's been a doozy. If you have ESPN notifications, TennesseeTitans.com notifications, anything. I mean, if your phone beeps when the Titans do something, your phone has been blowing up all week long. It's been wild. So I figured that, Jim, we should come in here and just kind of talk through all of this stuff, like get everything in order. I've got just piles of paper that are absurd. So I figured we could kind of try and lay everything out, help everybody understand what's what, who goes where, because free agency, I've always said, it's kind of like Red Rover. Everybody just kind of runs at each other and all of a sudden they're on different teams and maybe you break your arm. Like everyone just kind of mixes up and ends up in new places.
yes, and it's so much activity. Like I haven't really been able to sit down too much to look at what's happened across the league. Obviously, I've seen the big ones, but I need to sit down at some point once things calm down from our perspective and who ended up with the 49ers, who's with the Texans. I know the 49ers lost half their team, it seems like.
Right.
But what's happened in the division? And then, of course, when the legal tampering period, the negotiating period happened on Monday, Twitter decided to go down, or X, whatever Elon Musk is calling it now. And so that made things even more complicated from a keeping up standpoint. But and then, of course, some of these deals get announced during the week, and then we're coming back, announcing them Thursday, Friday, just because that's the way league rules work. You can't really start scheduling visits till Wednesday. We take the approach that we want these guys to come in, take physicals, sign contracts, and be in the facility, and that's happened. Obviously, all 9 of these guys, I've seen them in the building, seen their families in the building. I know they're just kind of getting the lay of the land here, and then now moving forward as a Titan. So a lot of change, certainly here, a lot of change across the league. It's a new day, and some tough decisions made on some of our own guys who people really have grown to like. And but that's kind of the way the business is. You have to start over, and we'll see how this team comes together. The reality is it's still early. What is it? Still just March the 14th?
Yeah.
I mean, we're still 6 months away from playing a football game, and so this roster building process is still in its infancy stage.
Absolutely, and it's important to acknowledge before we go on, it is Friday, March 14th, as we are recording this. That is important because if you're listening to this and it's, say, Saturday, Sunday, a week from now, and you're saying, well, they didn't talk about blank, or what about this thing that hasn't happened yet in the future? That's why it's not on here, because this is a very fluid situation, boys and girls. This is changing all the time. So we are giving you an update as it stands middle of the day on March the 14th, which is a Friday. So keep that in mind as you listen going forward. But hopefully things are going to kind of settle down a little bit and we can all catch our breath, figure out what's going on, what this roster looks like as it stands right now, and then where we can go going forward. So a little bit of, I guess, housekeeping. That's kind of what it feels like when you do extended contracts. It's just kind of keeping some of your own, just making sure they stick around, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And that's happened to guys who are exclusive free agents. That's happened to guys who are just scheduled to be free agents, unrestricted free agents, guys that you keep. And most of these guys all these guys, I think, that we kept on our own are all one-year guys, one-year deals coming back.
Yeah, so safety Mike Brown, corner Darrell Baker, long snapper Morgan Cox, and offensive lineman Andrew Rupsich, all extended contracts with the Tennessee Titans. Did that surprise you at all, Jim?
It didn't. Did you mention Condre Coburn? Because he was early in the process, and Oder Reese.
There you go.
Yeah, so
Look
a few more. Yeah, I mean, none of those really surprised me. And I know a couple of exclusive free agents who have not been re-signed. Jack Gibbons, T.K. McClendon. A lot of people had asked about Gibbons. Simmons, I feel like maybe he's not coming back. He'll move on. But some of these players, like I thought Baker played really well last year. I think that was a kind of a no-brainer to get him back, obviously, with the fluid situation at linebacker. Kenneth Murray traded, Cody Barton brought in. You're bringing in Otis Reese to give you more depth and compete with some other young guys to play alongside Barton. And then, Brown's at a position safety where obviously some movement there too. Rupkich, promising guy who's versatile, can play a lot of different positions. Coburn, same type deal, versatile. Coaches really like him. Keep going down this list. I know Morgan Cox, amazing. He just keeps signing one-year contracts and keeps playing. He's had an unbelievable career. Corey Levin, this team needs somebody to play center right now, and especially through the offseason. I think he'll compete again when camp comes. And did you mention Sebastian Joseph Day?
I did not.
Yep.
He was next on my list, but I did find my piece of paper that was stuck to the other piece of paper. So thank you for keeping me in line, Jim Wyatt. Sebastian Joseph Day is interesting, and I want to kind of put him in a separate Corey, him and Corey Levin, because they've re-signed as opposed to contract extensions, and those are a little bit different, right? Because they're getting brand new contracts, even though it is just for a year, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and the ones that are a little tricky is the exclusive rights ones, because they, there are tender amounts placed on those guys, and what we've done with all those guys is pretty much tear up. Don't even offer the tender, just rework 1-year deals. Same with Levin and Joseph Day. They're just getting new contracts at different amounts. Obviously, both of them valuable in their own regard. Sebastian Joseph Day, I thought, stepped in here and did a great job last season, and I know he had some interest from other teams wanting to come back here. Productive here, good guy. I think he fit in the locker room well. Teammates really like the way he works. One of these guys who had dealt, I think, with adversity really well and not letting negativity of a 3-14 season get to him or people around him. So that was certainly a good move.
Also, just a very interesting fellow. Not for nothing, but here on a podcast, we love the interesting guys. He's like a Renaissance man. He kind of does everything. He has his own podcast. Very interesting guy. And then a guy like Corey Levin is someone who our fans obviously are familiar with. He's been in and out of here 3,000 times, it feels like. Corey Levin just cannot stay away from us. And now he's got this 1-year contract.
Yeah, well, I think it was a 2017 draft pick.
He sure was.
Crazy, and he played a stint here. Then he bounced around, obviously went from the Patriots, went to the Jets, went to the Bears, stints there, back here.
He can't quit us.
Yeah, he's played a lot of games. And again, I think his versatility is what makes him attractive. He can play guard. He can play center. Just kind of a tough, rugged guy who, some people might say he's an overachiever. He's a 6th-round draft pick out of Chattanooga, and here we are in 2025. He's still in the league.
Solid career.
Yep.
Now, you mentioned when we started this that there was a trade, and that's a little spice that everyone gets excited about. The trade was Kenneth Murray traded to the Dallas Cowboys for a 6th-round pick, so the Titans received the Cowboys' 6th-round pick, number 188. In exchange, Dallas received Kenneth Murray and the Titans' 7th-round pick, number 239. So were you surprised that there was any trades that happened?
Well, I think with Murray, it was a situation where you're either releasing him or you're trading him. And the Titans got in a situation where once they got Cody Barton, who is a 3-down linebacker from Denver, a little bit different from a style standpoint, just the way he plays. But they like, his sideline-to-sideline ability, just his instincts. He can call the defense. And with Murray, I think the two of them together just was not going to fit. And I think just from a philosophical standpoint, just what you want to do at that position, once you got Barton, then I think you're maybe trying to groom some other guys to play alongside of him, and we'll see who steps up. James Williams, Cedric Gray, we mentioned Otis Reese. I mean, there's several candidates in there that compete, and we could still see some additions there. But I think at that point then, okay, what do you do with Murray? And I think he potentially had a contract situation coming up where he had a bonus upcoming, and again, he had a pretty hefty salary. So you're either making a move to release him or you're trying to get something for him, and the Titans were able to move up into the 6th round and swap that 7th-round pick, get something for him, and may end up getting a better player in the draft as a result of it.
So for those keeping score at home, the Tennessee Titans picks in the draft coming up, late April. April 24th is when it starts, 2025. Here are the picks as it stands today. Again, March 14th. They picked number 1 in the first round. They picked number 35 in the second round. Pick 103 in the fourth round, 120 in the fourth round, 141 in the fifth round, 167 in the fifth round, 178 in the sixth, and 188 in the sixth. So a first round pick, a second round pick, no third, 2 in the fourth, 2 in the fifth, 2 in the sixth, no seventh. That is how it stands today. Jim, how similar do you think that looks to what's actually going to happen in late April?
That's a great question because this team, Mike Borgonzi's made no secret of it, neither has Chad Brinker, that they want to accumulate as many draft picks as possible, whether that's in the first round or whatever round that's going to be. That fourth round pick is a very valuable pick at the very top of the fourth round, and people look at those picks. The Titans are not first in every round just because of the tie-breaking procedures. I know that's confusing to some people because they say, I thought we were picking – I put that list out earlier in the week, and people saw the Titans were picking third in the second and thought the Titans were first in every round. That's not the way it works.
Friends.
Yes, because of the tiebreakers and because a couple of other teams finished with a 3-14 record, you have to cycle through. So
you have to share with all the other 3-14 kids.
But the way it works out is you got the first pick on the first day, and then you got the first pick on day 3 in the fourth round, and so that's a valuable pick as well. So we'll see if you can either pick the best player that's available to start that round, or if you got some teams wanting to get aggressive and move up, you could accumulate picks that way. But a lot of time between now and the draft, a lot of conversations still to be had, a lot of teams still trying to figure out how aggressive they want to get in coming after potentially a quarterback. And I don't think sitting here now, the Titans know exactly how things are going to unfold. You don't really get an idea of how desperate a team is or what a team's willing to do until it gets closer to crunch time. So we'll see. I mean, 8 picks?
That is 8 picks,
We'll see how that ends up in late April.
It is interesting, though, after you get through the first 72-ish hours of the first wave of free agency. So the start of the new league year, happy new league year, by the way, into about Friday, Saturday, once the dust kind of settles after that first initial crazy wave, you start to see an idea of how the scales have recalibrated and how picks in certain rounds all of a sudden feel like they have a lot more kind of dollar amount or weight to them, whereas before everything's just kind of evened out and it's kind of, we want to have as many picks as we can. Now certain rounds, to your point, talking about that early in the fourth round pick and things that can happen on day 3, especially in this draft with this class overall that's so heavily weighted towards like the middle part of that draft.
Right.
I think it's going to be really interesting to watch how teams start to negotiate and some of the things we start hearing churning just in social media and beyond. It's going to be really interesting to watch how things unfold as we get closer to April.
Yeah, it really is, and then as a draft itself, you just never know where the run's coming, and whether there's going to be the run on the D linemen and the running backs and name the position, and that causes teams to want to make moves to make sure they don't miss out on a guy. So anything can happen once the draft gets going.
Gosh, I can't wait. April 24th is when the draft starts. That is a Thursday. There's going to be all kinds of stuff, by the way. So keep your eyes to TennesseeTitans.com. We've got all kinds of stuff going on as it relates to the draft. It's going to be a good time because the Titans, as it stands right now on Friday, March 14th, are picking number 1.
Which is exciting, but you don't want to be picking one every year because you earn that number 1 pick by finishing 3-14. Yeah. So I think best case scenarios, you pick some, you do some good work this offseason. You continue to improve. You're not picking first every year, but got to play well on Sundays in the fall.
Yeah, and then we all take a nap because, it's a lot of work having a first-round pick. This summer, SeatGeek has your ticket to the best live concerts in Nashville at Nissan Stadium. SeatGeek has the best seat, your seat, for an unforgettable summer. From rock royalty to rap superstars, R&B to country, find it all on SeatGeek, the official ticketing partner of Nissan Stadium. Home is the forefront of all we do. It's why we're so committed to caring for the places and spaces in which we work and live. Ashley, the official furniture provider of the Tennessee Titans. Little Caesars is the official pizza partner of your Tennessee Titans. Download the Little Caesars app and get your favorites delivered today. Delivery fees apply. Now, back to the OTP. Let's get on to the additions to this roster.
Okay.
We've talked about all the people we're kind of hanging on to, keeping around. Now let's talk about some of the new kids on the block, because there are a lot of them. And I guess the place that we should start, well, do you want me to just list them to you? I'm going to list them to you. We have tackle Dan Moore, guard Kevin Zeitler, offensive lineman Blake Hance, linebacker Cody Barton, punter Johnny Hecker, safety Xavier Woods, outside linebacker Draymond Jones, wide receiver Van Jefferson, and quarterback Brandon Allen, Jim Wyatt. A lot of diversity on that list, a lot of different position groups being addressed in a pretty small amount of time for this Titans team, right?
Yes, and obviously the biggest movement is offensive line. I mean, you add Dan Moore, who's a left tackle, is going to play left tackle for this team, and his addition means that J.C. Latham's going to bump to the right side, which is, I think, his strength. He played left last year because that was the best option for him and the team. But I think his best position in the league is going to be at right tackle. So that you kind of get two moves in one, and then obviously Zeitler, a guard, who's played in the league for a long time, still playing at a really high level. Talked to a buddy of mine in Detroit this morning about that. So he's a great guy, certainly hardworking guy, good locker room guy. Will be good for the young players in the room. And then Hance, who has played in the league for a while. He can play guard. He can play tackle. I think he's played every position on the line except for center. So you got a lot of versatility there. We talked about Levin. So that's, lot of movement at that position, but should be better. I mean, and certainly more, maybe was not ranked as one of the top linemen in this free agency class, but certainly a quality player who has played a heck of a lot of snaps in this league, still has the potential to get better. Having a coach like Bill Callahan will help him get better, and I think he's excited about that. And I think the line should be a lot better in 2025. A
lot of guys with a lot of experience and a lot of really durable guys, too. Dan Moore, 66 out of 68 starts. I mean, that's incredible. Guys who've been in the league for a really long time and have been consistent players. Does that speak to what they're trying to do with this team, which is infuse some veteran leadership, infuse some durable, consistent, reliable players in what was last year a really young offensive line? Yeah,
I think so. I think across the board, I think what stands out to me the most about this group so far is just how many games they've played, how durable they are, how, they say the best ability is availability, and all these guys have shown that they can stay on the field and play and battle through injuries and take care of themselves. And as we all know, this team's had a bad run of luck with the guys ending up on injured reserve or hurt or not able to play. And you hope the trend of these guys being able to play and be available continues here in Tennessee. But I think up front, that's what they did. I think across the board, I think all these guys have that same quality.
Some interesting additions on the defensive side of the ball, too, especially in that kind of linebacker and also outside linebacker spot. Were you surprised that there were that many people brought in to be on the defensive side? Were you thinking there'd be more offense-only additions?
I think now it's about plugging holes.
Yeah.
And I know, again, it's March the 14th. We're a long way away from playing, but you look at the depth chart and you look what you have available, and there are certain positions where you just have to get guys and have to start filling some holes. Obviously, we still got a ways to go. You got the draft. I think one thing that we probably can't talk about enough is this team number one in the waiver wire claim. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be able to add players along the course of the offseason that way, especially when we get down to roster cuts. I mean, a lot of things are going to play out as far as competition goes, in OTAs and mini camp and training camp. But once roster cuts are made, you could see a number of players sign then, and then you're just trying to upgrade the roster as much as possible. So I think now, I don't look as much about how many guys on offense, how many guys on defense. I look more at, okay, you need spots at certain positions. I still look at positions where you need help. I mean, wide receiver, they're still incredibly thin, even with the addition of Van Jefferson. And I think tight end, edge rusher, depth on the D-line, still a ways to go to. And the big question, obviously, at quarterback, too. Still a long ways to go here in the offseason.
Well, let's talk about Van Jefferson a little bit because you brought him up.
Yeah.
Exciting to see a local guy who we are familiar with because of his dad, who was a coach here. He was wide receivers coach for the Tennessee Titans from 2013 to 2015. Exciting to see him kind of return. I don't know if he considers it home because, but he went to high school here, so I guess it counts, right? Went to Ravenwood.
Yeah, and certainly his dad has a big personality. I remember Sean from his days here, and I still remember seeing Sean at the Super Bowl in Los Angeles when he was watching his son play. I saw him in the stands, and I think Van's wife had one of their children the day of the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken.
Like that night, wasn't it?
But then when I saw him walking through the building this morning, the odds are pretty good he's going to have a baby on the Super Bowl. I think he's got 4 or 5 kids. They look like they're all 6 and under. What a good-looking family he's got.
That makes me tired. Good luck, buddy.
So a great success story for him. I mean, I still remember when he was coming up out of high school as a top recruit and ended up going to, I think, did he start at Florida and then went to Ole Miss?
Started at Ole Miss and then went to Florida.
So had a good career, drafted early in the draft. Doesn't have huge numbers from last year. I think if you look at his career numbers, they're very similar to Nick Westbrook-Akina except for the touchdowns. He'll get opportunities here as things stand now. We don't know what else is coming to that position, but he's a little faster. He's not as maybe big and physical as Nick, but he's faster. And I think one thing Mike Borgonzi's talked about is just want to add a speed element to this roster, and that's what he brings. So it'll be fun to watch him, and it'd be fun to see if how often his dad checks in on him.
It'll probably be a lot. I would. I mean, why not? It's so convenient. Well, let's talk about who will be getting the ball to him potentially, and that's quarterback Brandon Allen. Guy's got 10 starts over the last 9 seasons, has been in a couple different places, most recently with the 49ers. What is the role that you expect him to have on this team?
I think that kind of remains to be seen. I mean, right now, I look at him and we still are going to have to wait and see what happens at quarterback.
100%.
And I think certainly based on what this team has done now, I understand why it seems like everybody says, well, the Titans are picking a quarterback at number 1. And I think still it's too early to just make that a declaration and just write that in with a Sharpie because you still don't know what's going to happen through this process. The Titans are still doing their homework on these guys. They're going to go to pro days. They're going to have private workouts. They've had them in the building, and they've got to make sure that this is a guy that they would trust with the first pick. And at the same time, you still don't know what other teams are going to do as far as an offer goes. You're not going to get a serious contract or a serious trade offer until you get closer to the draft. So if somebody blows the Titans out of the way and they get an offer they can't pass up, then I think that's still a possibility you trade that pick. So right now you can't say for sure what's happened at 1. But let's say that's where the Titans go. Then I think Brandon Allen and Will Levis are competing for the number 2 spot on this team, and the winner ends up being the backup. And we'll see how that goes. I know that Mason Rudolph was in the mix. Brian Callahan talked about that at the Combine. Some people scoffed at it. It ended up being Mason was down to the Titans and the Steelers and ended up going to Pittsburgh because he got a better deal there, and I think he felt like it's a good opportunity for him. So Brandon Allen ends up here, somebody that Brian Callahan was with previously in Cincinnati, and we'll see how that plays out. Levis talked to him at the Super Bowl. Certainly know Mike Borgonzi and Brian Callahan have said they're going to give him every opportunity to win the job. I know he's working this offseason with Jordan Palmer out in California. Jordan Palmer, the quarterback's coach, has worked with a lot of other guys, and we'll see what his mindset is coming back here. And I'm sure he's curious to see how all this is going to play out.
Yeah, and I know fans are – I mean, the number one thing I'm asked about still is the quarterback position, no matter what we're going to do. Are we going to bring someone in? Are we going to pick somebody? Is there someone already here? What are we going to do? But I think it's important to note that when Brian Callahan said he was going to do his due diligence, this is exactly what he was talking about. No stone unturned thing, the searching high and low, making sure that we evaluate every single option that we have. This is what we're living in right now. They are doing exactly what they said they were going to do. So let us live in that. Let's enjoy that we know everyone is being thorough, really taking this seriously, really wanting to do what's best for the Titans going forward. And this is going to play out well into training camp. Like, this is not going to be done at the end of April or at the end of May or at the end of June, my friends. We're going all the way through with this thing. Yeah,
and we may not know the faces until, who the real players are, what the competition is going to look like until then, because nobody's saying anything to me about it, but I'm obviously aware that there may be some other guys available that are currently on other teams, whether that's via trade or wondering what their status is going to be like either before or after the draft. So a lot of movement still out there position. There are a couple of free agent quarterbacks who have not landed somewhere else. I don't necessarily think they're coming here. The Aaron Rodgers of the world, or certainly others that are out there, Russell Wilson. But where they end up going will affect this team and impact other teams in this draft and what they might be willing to do from a trade offer standpoint. So, lot still to be determined.
Yeah. So everybody just hang on. In the words of Coach Mack, keep your powder dry, because we have a long way to go, and I think everybody's losing their marbles about this quarterback thing, and we don't need to. Not yet. It's too early. It's only March 14th. We have a long way to go, guys. Other positions we need to talk about, I want to make sure we mention safety Xavier Woods, because, he's an 8-year veteran. He didn't miss a defensive snap in 2024, another really durable addition to this team, who already has a relationship with L'Jarius Sneed. Feels like there might be some synergy there.
Yeah, and again, you mentioned the durability, just of availability to play, and Titans, again, had some tough luck there bringing Diggs, and he had a tough year. So Monty Hooker, has had some years where he's missed some games. So what you're looking for is guys who can step in and play. He's made some plays in his career, been available, been a very productive player. And I think the pairing with him and Amani Hooker, for now, as it looks like, is going to be pretty solid. And we talked about Mike Brown being in that mix as well.
Also want to acknowledge punter Johnny Hecker, who is now a part of this team. He feels like a good fit for this team, maybe because of his relationship with new special teams coordinator.
Yes, him and John Fossil worked together for a long time with the Rams. And, I think everybody was sad to see Ryan Stonehouse go. Such a popular.
Nice kid.
Yeah, great
Good guy.
kid. Worked his butt off when he had his ACL injury. He's got an incredible leg. It's crazy just how, from a punter standpoint here, we've had so many popular punters, and usually people don't like punters because they're tired of seeing them come out on the field. But Craig Hentrick was kind of like that when the team first got here. Brett Kern, very popular guy with the fan base, and Ryan Stonehouse steps in and did everything right. And certainly there were some parts of his game that he knows he has to work on. He talked about it when last season ended, directional punting being one of them. Sometimes just being able to do a better job of pinning teams down closer to the goal line. Not all that's on him. Obviously the net average went down last year. But with a guy like Hecker, four-time All-Pro, 4-time Pro Bowler, certainly has had an incredible career and has proven that he can do all the things that maybe some of them that Ryan Stonehouse is still working on. So he was a good. I know it was tough to see Ryan Stonehouse go, but Johnny Hecker certainly puts the team in good hands at that position. and he's a giant. He's about 6'5", 6'6", and I think what's going to be interesting for him is because you mentioned John Fossil. He just has a reputation for being kind of a innovative risk taker on special teams. I'll be curious to see whether he dials some things up for Hecker, where people are saying, "What the hecker?"
Oh, Jim, I knew that you were setting me up for something there. The way you were talking, there was a twinkle in your eye. I knew it. I knew it was coming. I knew there was something coming. Oh, gosh. So let's take this time to first pause for that joke. But then also
dad joke.
That was an epic dad joke. Hey, Titans fans, with a Kroger Boost membership, you'll score big with double fuel points, free delivery, and lots more. Go to Kroger.com/boost for details. Kroger, the official grocer of the Tennessee Titans. Tighten up. The OTP, presented by Farm Bureau Health Plans. When it's game day for your health coverage, trust Farm Bureau Health Plans to draw up a winning play for you. They've been covering Tennesseans for nearly 80 years. Now, back to the OTP. Let's zoom out a little bit here. So we are still getting to know this Titans personnel staff a little bit. Mike Borgonzi and the crew. I mean, there's a lot of new changes down there. And as we look at this first kind of wave of free agency for the Tennessee Titans, do we feel like we have a better understanding of what they're looking for in terms of what a Titan is?
Well, I think certainly they're on the same page, and this has been a long process in a short period of time, because a lot of these guys just been together for a month and a half, and they've spent so much time together. They spent 3 weeks in the same room leading up to the combine, and then so many meetings talking about draft picks, free agency, what they're doing with this current roster. I think just again the theme of what they're looking for now is just guys who can be durable and maybe be versatile and can help you. They continue to look for guys with speed. We'll say this. I mean, it has been very active from a free agency standpoint. 9 guys signed during the first week of free agency. I don't think it's always going to be like that. In years moving forward, I think what you want to do to try to build this thing the way, that, again, Mike Borgonzi and Chad Brinker have described it, is you're going to build it through the draft. So now it's about plugging holes, looking at the depth chart, looking at what you have serious needs for and trying to address those. And I think as you go forward, you got to draft well. And then you're, again, trying to re-sign your own guys and then making the tough decision of letting some guys go. But I think in future years, I don't think you're going to see this team being that aggressive and that involved in free agency. But right now, they've got no choice. I mean,
you've got to build a foundation.
It's a bad roster at the start of this offseason, and a lot of holes, and you can't do everything through the draft. And you certainly can't rebuild an offensive line counting on the draft. You need some veterans in the mix there.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. I think that this is a product of kind of where this team is for a variety of different reasons. But there's a bit of a foundation rebuild that's happening right now. And hopefully these guys that have been added to this team are going to be a big part of that. And so then after you get that set and established, then you start to add on with the draft. And then you go forward with the new philosophy, but you've got to plug the holes in the boat before you can go anywhere.
Right, and again, a lot of these are one-year deals, and not a lot of big money deals. Like the Dan Moore deal obviously was a big contract, but after that, all of them pretty modest contracts, and what appear to be short-term answers until you find long-term solutions. And certainly, some of these guys could do enough this year where they earn themselves back, on another earn themselves another contract next off season. But right now, it's just all about trying to build the best you can, and then again supplementing in the draft.
So what's next calendar-wise? What do you have coming up, Jimmy?
Well, we got pro days coming up. I know Miami, I think, is a week from Monday.
Yep.
Owners meeting is coming up at the end of that week. Colorado's pro day is coming up. Penn State's pro day is obviously coming up. Don't know for sure doing that one, but anticipate going to a couple of those, and then and made hotel reservations for Green Bay recently. So that'll be a pointer. So off-season program starts April the 22nd, the week the draft starts. So a lot still on the horizon during what's been an already really busy off-season.
Yep. So if you're not reading Jim Wyatt's stories on TennesseeTitans.com, what's wrong with you? Go do that. He's got all the coverage from hotel rooms just across the country. I mean, the man's going to be everywhere. But really, TennesseeTitans.com, Jim Wyatt stuff, he's covering everything that you could ever possibly want to know about the Tennessee Titans. And at J. Wyatt Sports, he tweets a bunch of stuff too. So on Twitter and Instagram, at J. Wyatt Sports.
Instagram, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Twitter, Instagram, and I'm also on Threads at J. Wyatt Sports.
I don't know anything about
Blue
Threads.
Sky. You ever heard of Blue Sky? I'm on Blue Sky too.
Who are you? Are you the trendiest person alive? Like, what are these things?
Yeah,
what
they're
is
all
Blue Sky.
Yes, well, some people, for one reason or another, have boycotted Twitter, and Blue Sky is kind of the alternative to Twitter.
Okay, so what is Threads then? Because I thought Threads was like Twitter.
Yeah, Threads is like Twitter. It's more in the Instagram family. Some of the stuff from Instagram gets created by Threads also.
Are there illustrations? Like
usually
a
it's
picture
photos. Like if you
component?
you can set up your Instagram where you can, when you publish it out, it'll also publish out to Threads, but you can also post stories to Threads, and people are looking for different alternatives, and I'm not going to boycott X. I think that's where most people live. That's where I've got most of my followers, but I do respect people's opinions who want to get away from X, and so I try to. I'm not quite as active on Blue Sky, but I'll drop my stories in there as well, along with Facebook. Facebook has limitations, although it's tough to stomach Facebook these days.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there. Well, Facebook is the only word you said that I know in the last probably 45 seconds. So that tells you how old I am, Jim. Well, good. So you can get Jim on every social media platform that you possibly could want. At
No
J.
TikTok.
Wyatt
I'm not
Sports.
on TikTok.
No dancing?
No dancing.
No. Well, there you go. Maybe that's for the best. For Jim Wyatt, I'm Amy Wells, and this has been the OTP.